Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Dina McKinney, our Director of Partnerships here at Dynamic Web. And with me today is Richard Lee, our Product Evangelist. Thanks to our trusted partner, Arbella, for hosting us today. So Richard's going to take us through simplifying complex quoting with unified e-commerce. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Richard.
Thank you so much, Dina. Pleasure to be here. Thank you to Arbella for your partnership and for hosting us today. Let's see, Dina, looks like, did we lose your screen? Dina?
Yep, I'm here. I went on mute and it,
Okay.
here we go.
Okay, cool. So, we're going to just start off with a PowerPoint deck first, and then we're going to go into a demo a little later. But I just want to kind of paint out that the topic for today is simplifying complex quoting with unified e-commerce. That's a long name, and let's just actually decipher what that title means first. So let's dive right in. So next slide, please, Dina.
Richard, hold on one second.
Sure.
There's just an issue with the GoToWebinar. Just give me 1 second here.
Okay, no problem. So I'll describe it here so you guys are, as you see, like my slide deck there, it's the first slide is CPQ, or Configure, Price, Quote. That explains the acronym, which is also known simply as a configurator. You might also know it as guided selling. Right? And configurators are software applications used by a variety of users, including customers, salespeople, dealers, and engineers. So they can be public facing, and we can go back one, Dina, back to slide one. Thank you. And they could be public facing, they could be found inside of a dealer portal, they can be used within a company, and they enable users to configure complex made-to-order products faster than before, reduce the need to involve expensive engineers, and can eliminate any possibility of designing a product that cannot be made, which is very frustrating. You can imagine the amount of money and time saved as a result of that. So if you would, Dina, let's just go back to can we go to the next slide, please? And you all know, like, one of the most famous configurators was the one that Dell used for their ordering of their systems, which is still used today, but it's, you know, long before we might have known what a CPQ was, we were already maybe using one, you know, every couple of years whenever you bought a computer. So moving on here, Dina, let's go to the next slide, please. Great. So unified commerce. Right? This is a huge ecosystem, and it's where multiple touch points and experiences define an e-commerce experience and solution. So in our world, the data backbone is Microsoft Dynamics 365, which provides the master data from, let's say, point of sale systems, all the numerous places that we see here that are part and parcel to the whole operation of the company, all the way to salespeople, and then all the way to the e-commerce experience, no matter the device that they use to experience that portal. And this is where quotes generated by a configurator live before converted to an order using, let's say, an e-commerce solution. And customers and salespeople can access these quotes. So moving along, let's go to the next slide, Dina. So when we're integrating a configurator into an e-commerce solution, we're making it available to customers or users online, whoever those users are exactly. And the CPQ not only proves to earn engaged users, because, you know, if you're filling out like a form or a configurator where you're choosing from a lot of drop downs or characteristics of something, let's say you're designing an 18-wheeler that's supposed to hold water, let's say like a fire truck. once you go from maybe 1,000 gallons to 2,000 and more larger in size, everything changes. The size of the truck changes, the weight of it changes, and that's driven purely by the CPQ engine. And our partner for handling all that is Exprologix. And they do all of that, no pun intended, heavy lifting around how products are configured and all the business rules that come into play. And that's where, it helps with, not fully replacing an engineer, but replacing the engineer from the perspective of a sale or pre-sales configuration of the product. So now, and typically those systems can be found inside of a dealer portal. So it has an outbound or an web-based place of being. But often, if it's in that environment, it may not be purely for a sale per se. It's maybe a quote, and it's happening within the system. And what I'm going to paint for you today is more of how taking that portal and giving it more intelligence and more brains by tying in e-commerce and all the mechanics that we know and love about e-commerce, and not just from the e-commerce perspective from a user. Let's say I'm in charge of, I work for the superintendent of fire departments and I'm ordering, new trucks for the new year. And there's that aspect of it, of that, coming in on that e-commerce experience. But then the company that is supporting that site and is dealing with a system that's quite complex because it's involving a configurator, it's involving an integration into all the data that ties it all together, which could come from Dynamics 365. So you need a platform that's capable of A, integrating, B, having all the bells and whistles required by, what you expect for a top league e-commerce solution to possess. So when integrating a configurator into an e-commerce solution, we're trying to, bring in all of the best practice elements to make that happen so that you could take orders nonstop, especially in these days where getting down and sitting down with in front of people is difficult. It's challenging, and some people are into it, and not everyone is so much as well. So, of course, e-commerce is one of those, essential businesses out there in a way, but therefore it's still an essential tool, is what we're talking about here. Not so much the business side of it. It's not a pure play for many of the people here in the webinar. You're not 100% e-commerce company, but to bridge gaps and to solve problems because of the circumstances today, e-commerce is going to get you there and where you want to go. So, next slide, please. So imagine that the configurator sits between a salesperson and the self-service configurator. So that self-service is the concept of where people help themselves to that information so that the customers can begin a configuration, add it to the cart, and a salesperson maybe could impersonate that customer to help them with the checkout process or to add stock items to the cart as well. Right, so I'm painting like an amazing experience that doesn't commonly happen today, but that, combination is, in what I described, where you have a configurator, e-commerce, integrated to Dynamics 365, you can have all sorts of possible different scenarios that support a business's needs around using a configurator, supporting a sales team that's also building out quotes, not just based on maybe configured products, but also being able to take stock products and combine them into a shopping cart together for a checkout process. I'm not suggesting that they whip out a credit card and, purchase 150,000 made to order product. One day, possibly that'll be more of a trend, but I'm saying that using the configurator on a front-end portal and allowing them to combine the made-to-order products with stock items, which is probably a very likely scenario in many of your worlds, and you're capable of doing that today, and it's all backed by the data too that comes in and out of and goes back into D365. Next slide, please. All right, so as complex as CPQ can be, the platform on which it's integrated to, like I mentioned, has to be complex to support it and has to possess all of the key features of e-commerce. So those features include a shopping cart that not only captures the bill of materials, that's something a configurator often will produce after something has been configured because it knows all the key pieces that have gone into it to constitute a quote and to constitute what is considered a completed product ready for manufacturing. And it should be able to show stock items as well. But what we're trying to paint too is that it should, and of course my opinion here is biased. I work for Dynamic Web. We're an all-in-one e-commerce solution. But when you think about it, and if you've ever had to maintain an e-commerce site, there are, in the world of marketing technologies, there's thousands of products just for email. There's just thousands of products just for personalization. And then when it comes to PIM, there are hundreds of products. And then when it comes to e-commerce, maybe there's like a top 5, but some of them have enough marketing dollars to obfuscate the fact that their product is a black box. There's no, everything is 100% customization. Everything requires a programmer. Everything requires, IT to support you in your endeavor. And that's where, with a smaller marketing space like Dynamic Web, we're trying to introduce to a smaller market the ones that are working with partners like Arbella to, get their business under control, get their, digital transformation either going or going to the next level. And so when it comes to this type of scenario that I'm painting, it requires more, and it benefits from a more complex solution that has the things baked inside there, because there's a lot of things that when a CPQ is involved with e-commerce, there's so much more like opportunities, you could say, that exist in areas that without a more complex e-commerce solution, you're incapable of getting it. In fact, your team might not even know that's possible, or they're not able to think that way. It's like the old adage, I don't know what I don't know, right? And so how would I be able to know how to Google what I don't know that I don't know to find the answer? And it's through demos or presentations that I see people and like their eyes light up. I can almost see a light bulb above their heads. And that's where they're realizing that, having that eureka moment, like, oh, that's how companies do that. That's how the airlines know that I was looking at something like that, and it's the technologies and all of that are changing, and we sometimes are playing catch up, and sometimes are like, wow, this is such great forethought in having a solution. So that's what I'm trying to drive at over here, that it's, CPQ is a complex system. Yes, you could make a DIY version on the front end, but try to do it on the back end with all the business rules. And that's a gigantic endeavor in and of itself. And the same with e-commerce. If you're just making something that checks out with a pay about button, there's a pay about button and a web page that could do that. But with real e-commerce and it benefiting the B2B side of things, and then all the people related to that operation, including marketing people and product information people, they need tools that really work, and they're not using over-the-counter tools like Excel to just piece lots of information. All right, so moving on so we don't die from a PowerPoint presentation here. Dina, what is the next slide after this? if you would, please. Yes, okay. So just a little something about, advanced e-commerce solutions. So we've all heard about abandoned carts and a few platforms that send an email to customers that have abandoned the cart. So imagine utilizing this feature for a partially configured or partially completed configuration. So you're going through the configuration, it's lunchtime, you leave, and you never come back. So that's another, that's where I'm saying that an e-commerce solution that has these features built in are capable of being leveraged for situations that it's not quite an abandoned cart, but it's an abandoned process that's essential for the shopping cart. And that at that stage could be, addressed as well in the form of abandoned cart email reminder. You're at 72% of a configuration. Maybe you'd like to have your salesperson impersonate you to finish it. Or together you could do that over the phone, or you could come back and finish it yourself, and then we can get the ball rolling. So that's the concept here that I just wanted to paint in a nutshell before we dive into the live demos. I'm going to pause here for any questions from you folks, and Dina and Corey, you guys running the chat box if you've seen anything, and just give me a moment while I switch screens to show you my end.
Yeah, there's one question so far. So you just mentioned impersonation. Can you touch on that if you're not already planning to throughout the rest of the presentation?
Yeah, yes. Thank you for that question. I'm going to touch on that for sure. Dina, could you pass the controls to me, please?
Yeah, I just think there's a delay.
Okay. All right. There we go. Thank you. Now, not sure what screen. Yeah, okay. You see my demo screen, Dina?
1 second. I don't see it yet. Yes, I see it now.
Right.
Good to go.
Okay, good. All right, great. All right, so sorry about that. Okay, so I will address that question about the impersonation. In fact, real soon we're going to do that. Okay. All righty, so before we dive into it, I just want to show you a quick examples of other customers of websites we've done it for. This is Tricor Braun. They sell bags, essentially. And Forney Industries, they sell welding equipment. All right, so you see, it's just, these are websites that, when we're talking about a B2B e-commerce solution, it's really two sides of one coin. One side of it is the brochure side. This is what we sell. This is what we make. This is what we can do for you. These are our services. And then there's always like a login or something where you go in to now experience a different, like a different view. And that's one part of personalization where when I go here to sign in, imagine it's authenticating somewhere else, or it's pulling out information out of D365, an ERP or CRM, and just digging out that information. So imagine this site here is for a bicycle manufacturer, okay? They're based in Indiana, 25% of them are Amish, on and on and on, right? So that's the story behind this site here. And as they're B2Bs, and I'm a small B2B shop, and I'm a small B2C retailer of a bike shop in Portland. I go to this company to order bikes for my company. So I logged in this example over here. And in doing so, I now have access to data over here, what we call a self-service portal, where customers can help themselves to their address book. So I'm going to ship now, because of COVID, I'm going to drop ship directly to customers. So I need to have my addresses or my address book over here adjusted, or and then I have access to many other things here. But we'll go into the quotes part, or but I can certainly, I think it's important to point out the other places that are important, like one of the questions that came up. So let's start to switch towards that direction. So I logged in as demo user, and demo user, let's say for today, is a salesperson at the Might and Bites company that manufactures bites. So that's a salesperson, DU, has customers, let's say, based on region. And because it's based on region, in the CRM or ERP, and Dynamic Web picks up on this information as part of the integration, it's registered what users I have the right to impersonate, right? I may not be allowed to do everybody, but I'm allowed to do my own customers. So once I'm logged in, I have this little option over here. It says view the list of users you can manage. And manage, impersonate, same thing. And imagine if you have 20 customers, you just went live, and these 20 customers, they want to use the website, but they need a lot of hand-holding, right? So you don't want, as a salesperson, to be having access to their login, because you have to memorize a lot of things, not to mention that it's probably a bad policy to do that. So you instead, and with Dynamic Web, you wouldn't be able to see their passwords anyway because they're encrypted. So can't memorize them. So you'd see this list over here of all the customers. Now, in my case, I only have one. If we had so many, we could search for them, or we could browse for them by page. And then, so let's say I want to manage this other user regardless of their name. I'll hit manage. So now I'm managing this user, and whatever I do at this stage is really on behalf of that user, including maybe going over here and going into the configurator, okay? And that's where we could start to use the Explogix engine to start configuring a bike. In this case, I could certainly go here to bikes and then mountain bikes, and then I can browse stock products. But if, let's say, there's a modification that could be done with an electric bike for whatever, and it could be done through the configurator, that's the option that we're going to go with initially. So for now, I don't want to manage let me just sign out of here and stop managing the user first. And just to show you, to do a quote straight through it over here. And so right now, this screen over here, we're still inside of Dynamic Web, but it's retrieving this information from a CRM that Explogix is integrated to as well. So that's a CRM that on this view, as let's say, as a demo user, I'm logged in as a salesperson, I could start a configuration on behalf of a customer. And the good thing is that this configuration, once saved, is saved as a quote, and it could live over here, or it could live inside of CRM. And if living inside of CRM, the beauty is that some salespeople who may not have access to this, or did not use a configurator initially, but now want to be able to see the quote, can do so, because they don't necessarily need access to this or have a front-end login. They have access to the CRM. They could see it over there. All right, so let's go here to new quote, and I'll just leave the defaults alone. I'll create a new quote. And now it's gone out to the Explogix engine, and it's calling up our configurator. So I'm going this approach because we're doing a made-to-order product. And then I'm going to go with a mountain bike. And then I could start selecting things. And this is like more similar in style to the configurator like Dell used. Now, Explogix, as well as Dynamic Web, we're not limited to these, kind of basic inputs that all browsers are capable of: radio buttons, checkboxes, drop-down lists, and selections using images and all that. you can go next level. I know Explogix did one for a company called Malibu Boats, and it's beautiful. It's like playing Xbox, where you're configuring a character, but you're actually configuring something that you're somewhat also committing to buying. Maybe not with a credit card, but there is obviously a commitment after you design something and ask them to make it. Um, but nonetheless, you're capable of doing that. And of course, I mean, it's, with unable to go out or orders to stay in, you could certainly order the boat and they could probably deliver it to your dock somewhere, and you could just walk out and jump into your boat. And so, but that's how they do it on the high end. But in the practical, the general way of doing it, even though it's not fancy in 3D, it still works, and it works also for the manufacturer to be able to offer the ability to order complex products with business rules and lots of logic, but also do it faster and easier than involving a lot of people, and for sure making sure that you be able to build it. So when it gets to the shop floor, people aren't scratching their heads like, how do we even make this thing? So here I've selected just really basic items here, like I chose the ML frame, the ML fork, the ML crankset, moving it from, by default, it was over here on the left side. So I hit save and close. So this is again on the Q side of the CPQ. I just did a configuration, and I'm really doing now a quote. And the quote that I just made, today being the 30th, and here it is, and it renamed it to the name over there and it's for today's date. And this is the amount here. So left alone, this is sitting inside the CRM or CE, and it's there as 1622.30 for this mountain bike, and it just lives there. And it lives there on behalf of a customer, as generated, let's say, by a salesperson. And technically, with Dynamic Web, a customer logged in, they can see in their self-service portal all of their open quotes, so that they can just click on it and with one click convert that quote to an order. The same applies over here, the same logic where we have here that any of the quotes that have dollar values, meaning that they've been configured, I can convert to a quote. And obviously ones that are zero, I can't order something that costs nothing. Not yet, at least. So if I go here to order now, I'm going to basically be converting this quote into an order. Now, check this out over here. Currently, it says zero in our shopping cart. And what Explogix is going to do now is take all of the BOM, the bill of materials, constituting the bike that we configured, including the ML fork, the ML other accessories, and then convert that into an order. I thought I clicked on it. Let's see. Let's give it a moment. Just waiting for that to add to the cart. I didn't warm up this feature, so it might take a little bit of time. Okay, too much time. Any day now.
One of those days, I think.
Yeah, it's not even Friday.
Yep.
All right, well, I'll just describe it as it's supposed to work here. Oh, there we go. Whew. All right, so 19 components make up this bill of materials list. And there we see the ML fork, the ML crankset that I had specified, and then the list goes down. Now, notice here it says proceed to checkout or empty cart. We're not going to do any of those right now. But let's say if I wanted to go here to products, let's say, actually, let's search, this search over here. I'm going to search for another product here. And the product that I'm searching for is not a made-to-order product, but let's say we want to order the clothing for women's jackets. And just to show you another interface, certainly this focus today is using a configurator, but you're using a configurator through a website, and the website is designed to make life a little easier, to make the input of an order for B2B as easy as possible. So this is an example here. This is native to Dynamic Web, where you're doing a variant matrix, meaning that variants are, this comes in blue, but it comes in different sizes. It comes in small, medium, and large. Instead of ordering, let's do a transaction on small, then do a transaction on medium, and then do a transaction on large, or all the sizes. Here, actually, it's doing two dimensions, size and the dimension of color, and then you could just put in the quantities of, like, I need 10 small blues. I need 20 medium reds. I'll do 5 medium yellows, and gray will do 5. Right? And then in one fell swoop, I can add it to the cart, and I have 35 items in total of this, like, combination matrix I did over here. And I can add those to the cart as well. Let's try that. See if we can make this blow up. And all right, well, it went to the cart. All right, good. We'll ignore that, but we'll focus here on the cart that we have in place right now. So we have the items over here. We could add multiple other products to it, and then we could check out as well. And just keep in mind, with a B2B checkout, it's not necessarily where we're doing a payment by some credit card processor. Often we could do just a PO number or no PO number, and just the checkout is applied to your account and your terms, or as long as it's within terms. Let's say if inside a CRM or ERP you indicated that a customer his account is on hold because of late payments on their invoices, then when they log into the B2B site, they can have a nice discrete message at the top here that says, please contact customer service to use the site. So they can't even browse, they can't even do anything. So that's where we mean by the integration into ERP or CRM, a master data system. We want that system to remain the master data system, meaning that everyone in the company is using it for their various reasons. And the e-commerce doesn't have to be treated any differently. We could feed and receive that information in real time, in batch mode, and then react to that in ways that are speaking through the website. So if an order that I place is shipped, that record is changed, and a notification because of reading that record change from Dynamic Web is sent out to customers via email. So Dynamic Web is in this constant cahoots with the ERP and CRM to know what's going on. And it's not only for a transaction that's occurring because they're on the website, it could be because of a past or more recent transaction. So that's what I like about e-commerce, and that it's integrated. It becomes like a living organism, not just taking on the historic live new transactions, but able to expose historical orders as well, right? Because one of the cool things here is, with an integrated solution, it's not just like, hey, you got to know what my specific pricing is. You have to know what inventory I'm allowed to buy and things like that. Of course, that's the case. But now imagine historical orders inside the ERP long before, let's say, you started using Dynamic Web, like from 10 years ago, long before you might have been doing e-commerce online. So that historical orders are sitting inside the ERP or CRM. You could expose that to customers and allow them to reorder from that. That would be a little more advanced feature, but they could reorder from historical orders and add that to the cart today, and then build off of that. So, when it comes to B2Bs, we're trying to make the solution for them as effective, cost-effective, time-saving, and intelligent as possible. Many B2Bs, you have to twist their arms sometimes, or your customers to twist their arms to use the e-commerce solution that you spent so much money and hard work on. But then when you get them to use it, you want to make it really easy for them to place orders super rapidly, because they will just likely revert to finding the fax machine, dusting it off, plugging it in, and figure out how to fax you an order. So giving them all the tools that they need and making it fast and make it run on their phones, make it run on a tablet, hyper speed, and be able to get an order quickly is going to be truly beneficial. Like in the case of Forney over here, we have let me just load it up on their dev site. They have a feature that I absolutely love, but it's not an out of the box function. That's most of what I showed you here is pure out of the box, except of course for the configurator part, even though it is a new solution with us. But in the case of Forney, I'm sorry, this is taking forever to load, but basically in the case of Forney, they have a feature where you can upload a purchase order file, let's say an Excel file. Column A has all SKUs, column B has all of the quantities, and you can upload that, and that goes right into your cart. And often, if you're doing that, you don't even need to vet it once it's inside the cart, because you've uploaded a file, as opposed to doing it from a historical orders. Oh, I might be able to show it there. Maybe not. Let's see. Let me show you some other cool things that we make life easier for B2Bs with Dynamic Web. We have this brand new feature here. This is like in our latest release that came out in January, and it's called an order draft. And I really like this thing. This is really more of a B2B feature today. Who knows, in the future it might be a B2C thing, but it's for when you're running a B2B shop and you're connected to order things, you're doing it maybe based on projects, based on customers or whatever. You're not capable to effectively work off one shopping cart, right? You need maybe a few shopping carts, at least just to collect it in different places. Ultimately, you're owning all the carts, but in this case, an order draft is a shopping cart essentially that you can use and you can keep open, and is not subject to the way we treat subject to the way Dynamic Web treats carts that have been abandoned. We can make them part of an abandoned cart marketing campaign to make sure that people flush out their carts, so we don't have to do it for them. They can check out. But sometimes you have an order, it's going to be open for a few months while we develop all of our needs and everything. And therefore, we created the order draft. So it doesn't tie up inventory inside of a shopping cart, but it kind of prepares everybody as they're collecting, products to put into this order draft. And this is really an exclusive feature on the B2B side. And I think this makes a huge difference for people. And often people don't know that that's what they need. They're just like, often they're like, oh, I want to have more favorites list so we can keep that in there. It's kind of like a favorites list, except you don't have to add the favorites list to the cart. You're in an order draft. You're essentially in a cart that is not in the form of a checkoutable cart, but it's still in the form of being able to be converted from this holding stage to an order. So we like that. And then, let's see, we have other features that for now we can put on pause until I can address any questions.
Yeah, there is a question that came in, Richard.
Yeah.
So they're referring to about 5 or 10 minutes ago, you were going through the configuration of the bike and then the apparel, how you added that in with the variants.
Yeah.
Your question is, if there's time, can you address or talk about how that's potentially linked to your marketing capabilities as far as like cross-selling and upselling?
Okay. Yes, great question. That's more on the back end, which I'm happy to show. Let me do it over here in my own demo environment. Okay. Sorry for the delays. Okay. So let me log in. And and show you there. Okay, so, the nice thing about a website, unlike other touch points where customers may be involved, is that the website is collecting a lot of information about behavior. It's kind of like a lint brush. You didn't realize all those things were on you and all that information that you're leaving behind. And the good news is that we capture it. And then the other great news is that we can allow you to access it in one of those features that are built in, like the Smart Search. So I love the order drafts, but the Smart Search is really my first love, and with Dynamic Web. And that's where we're capable. So imagine the person using the back end in this particular section is a marketing person. Usually a marketing person, you might be using it like a MailChimp system, and you have an e-commerce site, and then that's kind of integrated into your ERP or CRM. So you could ask the systems analyst to dig out that information for you, and and then later you can extract the emails of people who've exhibited certain behavior. With Dynamic Web, that capability is at the hands and fingertips of or mouse tips of a marketing person who uses a Smart Search. And it really is smart. So let's show you what that is. So the field here is like any of the fields here would come in from D365. But then where D365 still has information would be more on the, let's say, bought a product. They bought a product, that's true. We know that from the CRM. But guess what? This information here, I'm not asking the CRM analyst or ERP analyst for it. I'm able to derive that myself, right? But let's say a CRM or D365, it also knows what people didn't buy. So you could maybe put them in that slot as well, right? But then there's information now that ERP or CRM has no clue about, such as that they visited a page on a website or that they viewed a product page on the website. That's kind of like more Google Analytics. But here's the problem with Google Analytics. You don't know who exactly did that. You have a B2B site, they're required to log in, you know that they're logged in, you know that they left maybe an abandoned cart, but you don't know exactly what they did between logging in and checking out. And with Dynamic Web, you can. So let's say they viewed a product, right? So this is essentially a product page. But then I can also see if they visited, let's say, our charity pages or our pages on how to save money on their orders or something like that. And that's what visited pages, right? Now, if you use Dynamic Web for email marketing, so, we call ourselves an all-in-one e-commerce platform. So often you think of e-commerce and you think, well, for sure it's going to have a CMS or content management system, but you forget other things, or you might not know that other things also include having marketing built in. This is one of those features, and we have an email marketing system built in. So imagine you create this very targeted list of people. Hey, because you bought this John Deere tractor 6 months ago, you probably are looking for all of these accessories or all of these upsell or from a marketing person's upsell opportunities for them, et cetera, or an extended warranty. That would require asking the ERP analyst to dig out that information for you and then piecing it together in the email marketing message and then delivering it out. But the problem is the moment you deliver it out, someone's going to click on it and come back in and then rinse and repeat that cycle again of analysis, right? And that's where here with Dynamic Web, behavior and website is one thing, which is we're going to capture, but we can also capture it even further here in saying behavior for email marketing. So I can say that they opened up a specific email that we sent to them. And what's cool too is that let's say we integrate this to the CRM. We could have, let's say under custom fields, we might have a field that says, is this an opportunity? Is this a lead? What is the percentage win of this opportunity? Or let's say, did they leave a configuration less than 22% complete or greater than 75% complete? And now we're capable of treating like really detailed behavior more specifically. And that's where this smart search comes into play. So even though I set up all of these fields and say that they all must apply, today I might get, let's say, 50 people that qualify for having done all 5, or let's say all 4 of these together at some point over time. But tomorrow, 2 months from now, 6 months from now, 20 more people fit the bill, they'll be added to the original 50. That is if there's no change there. Notice over here I said that they bought a product is not true, and then I can specify what that product is. The moment they buy that product, they're removed from this list. So they're no longer marketed because of being on this list. That doesn't mean they're not added to 20 other lists that says, well, did they buy this product? Oh, yes. Okay, congratulations. You're going to be targeted with all of our messages related to that product. So that's what's cool about Dynamic Web, is that this smart search is a filtering system that's tying in streams of data from the ERP, CRM, D365 side of things, your operational side of transactions with regard to using the platform, and maybe even historical information, as well as behavior on the website, like Google Analytics stuff, as well as behavior around email marketing, that they open this 22 times on their phone or things like that, and all of those metrics, all on one screen for a user, like typically a marketing person, without having to have so many dependencies on looking on so many different places to find this information, that it makes their job excessively and unnecessarily difficult. So you could use Dynamic Web for that, and it's quite powerful. So I hope that addresses your question and then some, whoever asked it. So with that, I'll tie it up over here. I think that, I don't want to leave the focus of using a configurator to show you too many other things about things, but I think that on the configuration side, it's showing that promise. Certainly we're looking at this from a B2B perspective, but on a case study like a Malibu Boats, and that's a B2C solution. So that's quite a sophisticated, complex, but also beautiful solution created for using a configurator. But I don't believe you can use a credit card to check out, or some sort of form of, commitment and purchasing it yet off the website. So it's really a high-end brochure. But what I'm painting over here is more of the nitty-gritties of configuring complex products. And they don't have to be as large as an 18-wheeler. They could just be simply complex. And doing so where you have the capability of still all the features of e-commerce, and all the mechanics of it, like having a shopping cart that can take all sorts of products, not just products from the configurator, but also products like that are in stock, just waiting to be sent off. So now I'm open to all your questions, and happy to revisit anything.
Those were the questions that you addressed, so I think we can wrap up here. And if other questions come up, feel free to reach out to us. So thanks to everyone who joined us today. And thanks to Arbella again for hosting Dynamic Web. Everyone, you will receive a recording of the session. So have a great rest of your day and stay well, everyone.